A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that. And it was a business that we used to dominate. We used to dominate it totally. In short, chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. It's a very great threat to our country. And for these reasons, starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. It's been a long time since we even thought of that. We used to think about it a lot. We didn't think about it for many decades, and you see what's happened. For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, very kind. You're not so kind when you got ripped off with your salaries. My auto worker friends and my Teamster friends and all of the unions that typically voted Democrat, they're not voting Democrat anymore because worker, whether union or non-worker, they're for the Republicans now. That's what happened. But we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So the tariffs will be not a full reciprocal. I could have done that, yes, but it would have been tough for a lot of countries. We didn't want to do that. I'd like to see the chart if you have it. Could you bring it up, Howard? This is our great Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thanks, Howard. So if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff.
Now, some people are trying to understand what the hell is going on because they're armchair economists and they don't really know exactly what this means. You'll see a lot of liberals, I like to call them raging liberals. You'll see a lot of liberals get upset at this and they'll say, well, it's going to cost us more and all of this. Listen, what we've basically been doing over the last 30 plus years is we've been giving away our economy while at the same time raising our deficit and letting other countries take advantage of us. Now, no better example than looking at the auto industry to realize that majority of the companies, even the companies that are supposedly American companies, right? The Ford, the Chryslers, the GMs, which Chrysler is now Stellantis, they've basically given away all of our jobs outside of the United States of America, but we have not seen a return in purchasing and buying power, meaning that wages increase and your ability to be able to afford more. And at the same time, we've been giving away the jobs. And so what's basically happened is we didn't get any of the savings that came along with them basically making other countries rich by then selling our proprietary technology. So over in China, what China has done is they've required for anybody to do business over from the United States of America or from any country for that matter, but mostly in the United States of America, to come over there, partner with a company 50-50, and then they stole our proprietary technology while at the same time forcing us and tariffing us and costing us additional dollars in order to do business, and we was never truly profitable over in China in the first place. At the same time, we then made cars or made parts and then created supply chain restraints, which then allowed for us to import those vehicles, those parts and all of that stuff back over into the United States of America at a much cheaper cost and to the detriment of the American worker. And that was basically given away under Clinton, under the Bushes, so on and so forth. And so now we've become so used to it. And the majority of the people that are voting today and that are liberal and are on the Democrat side, they've never truly experienced or understand what the auto industry was doing. And this is exacted across all industries in the United States of America. The auto industry is the most personal to me because I grew up in Detroit. I know how it feels to want to get into the job market right after high school and think that you was going to get a good job. And it's nothing like it was in years past when you was growing up, when you was, in elementary school, middle school, high school, when you're seeing people getting A-plan papers, all of these things, you didn't get to experience that. Luckily, I was able to get in the steel industry, lost the job. Also, it was exacerbated by the 2008 housing crisis, which was a real recession, not this bullshit y'all see today. And so basically, none of those jobs came back. The UAW and all of these unions, which I didn't understand how Sean Fain was embracing Biden or Kamala Harris for president when he realized that Trump has literally saved the steel and aluminum industry by putting tariffs on China in his first term, which the Biden administration, they didn't even remove the tariffs because they realized that it was actually saving American jobs. It wasn't creating jobs, but it was saving jobs within the American industry, which we then became too big to fail. And we've seen that take place in 2008 with the housing crisis and the banking collapse, but the banks was too big to fail because we didn't make anything in the United States of America anymore. So whereas people are complaining and saying, oh my God, everything is going to cost more. No, you've basically given away your children's futures and you've subsidized other countries to get rich at our behalf while at the same time raising our deficit. And we're trying to reinvest back into America, also finding the fraud, waste, and abuse so that we can also ultimately have a surplus, and then we can pay down the debt, save America, and create more jobs inside of the United States of America. Understanding that we are the purchasing capital of the world, right? I recently on the plane today because I wanted to really deep dive and understand exactly why tariffs was necessary, what was happening with other countries, and China is basically breaking and collapsing other economies, including over in Indonesia. If you go over and look at what happens in Malaysia, India, all of these other countries in which they're basically saying, hey, we'll help you guys out by building high-speed rail and all of this stuff. And so they basically paying off their governments while at the same time stealing their jobs and upending their industries. And there's entire industries and entire towns that are collapsing because China is basically taking their entire industries because they want to try to pull down the bubble. They had a real estate bubble. If anybody knows anything about it, I've been covering it all last year and the year before. They had a real estate bubble, and so instead of trying to take the air out of a little bit of that bubble, what they basically did was try to force exports on other countries, and that's what they exactly did in order to make sure that they continue to prop up their own economy to the detriment of other places. And no more has that happened in the United States of America through the North America Free Trade Agreement, which Trump renegotiated in 2016, 17, and 18 and 19 when he was in office. And also now he's saying, listen, we need to start creating American jobs. We need to start making sure that we make things here. We got to have our industries interdependent on America and not other countries. If anything was to happen, if any war was to ever break out, we can't be restrained by what the supply chain is doing or being able to create steel and aluminum. We need to prop up our own stuff. We need to buy American. And what it's forced companies to do is basically come to America, build products here, and at the same time invest in America while at the same time expanding the capacity of the plants that we already have online. So the unions are going to benefit, your children are going to benefit, you're going to benefit, America is going to benefit, and the countries that you say that you support, that you love, all of these other countries, they're going to have to figure it out on their own instead of taking advantage of the American taxpayer. And people don't understand that for some reason. And it's like, why do you care so much about other countries more than you care about the United States of America? You finally got a president that has balls enough to do the thing that's best for the American people, and you are complaining about it knowing that these other countries are taking advantage of us. And it's not just what's on the surface, because they are tariffing us, they are charging us in order to do business over in these countries, but they're charging us in multiple different ways that's basically taking advantage of us. And this is the true calculation. This is what Trump is saying. There's a true calculation that comes with doing business with these other countries when we say that we have a trade deficit is bigger than just what you see on the surface. That's what he was talking about with Canada. That's what he was talking about with Mexico. That's what he's talking about with China and the EU. That's what's happening in Vietnam, Taiwan. He's trying to not depend on their chip making companies because that's the whole proxy war between why we was giving money over to Taiwan to keep China at bay from taking over Taiwan in the first place. And now we are trying to build more inside of America so that we're not interdependent on the outside world. And at the same time, we benefit American citizens and job payers. I mean, job workers and opportunities. We don't have illegal migrants coming in and stealing jobs from American workers and taking up all of our taxpayer dollars. Why would we let the Democrats continue to sell away America at a discount while getting rich and then telling y'all that they're doing something in the best interest for you while throwing your children's future away? Let's hear more of what Trump got to say.
Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and
Yep.
semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything.
Make
We
them
had
all in
of it.
Taiwan now.
Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually, they're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that. But 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, very, very tough. Great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose. Japan, 46%. They would charge us 46% and much higher for certain items like cars, little items like cars.
And if you go over to Japan, which I did go over to Japan, and I spent some time over there, and I paid attention to the cars that was driving. We have a whole lot of Japanese cars over here. You see practically no American-made cars, and I mean zero over in Japan. Even in the capital of Japan, over in Tokyo, you see almost zero. Zero. They do not allow for American-made cars to be over there and to be driving around. They absolutely are against other countries unless they can benefit from it over into Japan because they are going to be self-sustaining and they're going to do the thing that's in the best interest of their own people. And we so dumb.
46%, we're charging them 24%. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. The prime minister just left. And he's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades. And it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China charged them. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China in tariffs. And they understood, honestly. President Xi understood. He said, look, I understand. And the other countries, and they all understand.
But what they also did was they tried to spite us by creating factories over in Mexico and in other countries to try to get around the tariffs. And they basically pressured other countries to do it so that they could take advantage of the American taxpayer. But Trump is basically saying that we're gonna pay attention to everybody that's in the world that we do business with. We're not going to let y'all get away with it.
We're going to have to go through a little tough love, maybe. But they all understand. They're ripping us off, and they understood it. Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. He was a fantastic man. He was unfortunately taken from us, assassination. But I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. A trade is not fair. And he said, I know that. I know that. And he was a great gentleman. He was a fantastic man, but he understood immediately what I was talking about. I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. He said, I know that. And we worked out a deal, and it would have been a much better deal, but frankly, there were many years left on the deal that was made previous to my getting there, but it was something. If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing.
So basically what Trump is basically doing is saying, America, we got to put Americans first. It's America first, and we got to take care of business on Americans' front. And I know that it's a lot of people that hate America, they hate Trump, and so it don't matter what they do for you. Don't matter if he saved your job. Don't matter if he's creating an industry that's going to benefit your city and your town. People are going to be mad at him no matter what. It's just the truth. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. It's a way that we're going to benefit from this, and we're going to talk about that on the next Stock Club on the live stream. Best time to join the Patreon is the beginning of the month. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. And I'm going to expound on this on the Millionaire Morning Show in the morning. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.